Hi, Lindsay. We're going to take a look at your Follow the Sun project, as well as your posting for the takeaway. So let's jump right into it. Get to screen share here. Here we are. Move this here, and let's take a look. Here we have golden light. I appreciate that you put in, your settings and everything. I didn't really necessarily need that, but it's good that you are looking at that as a reference because those settings do affect the image. We know that it's not just settings on the camera. We know that they connect with the aesthetics of the image. And so being aware of that is super, super important. And I'm glad that you put those up there. I debated whether to make that a requirement or not and decided, okay, well, we've had them do that before and we won't have them do it now. So golden hour, of course, has to do with the direction or the direction of the light, but also the shadows. And what you're looking for in golden light is going to be the long shadows. And definitely a low angle, of course, for that. And wow, you've really captured them beautifully here. This is an excellent rendering of this kind of landscape. You've organized it in a way that makes it feel structured. It's not about just observe and take a picture. Now you are paying attention to one end of the composition to the other end of the composition. You've positioned the building in such a way the light is kind of coming in there and just touching it, but then you have the repetition over here. This is all just really, really great. As well as this, you've captured the texture and the color. I don't know if you are kind of pushing the warmth by adjusting the white balance. That's fine. I think that's, acceptable to do when you're trying to enhance the kind of quality of light. But you really are getting that golden kind of warm feel to the light. Not everybody else's did. This one got a little bit shaky on you. It may not have seemed that way when you initially did it. I know that you were making some choices about whether to hold the camera or not to hold the camera. If we're going to go in this direction where it's a little bit of movement like that, as you know, I'm totally fine with that as long as it works. And I think if you pushed it even farther, that we would have gotten somewhere with it. So very good on identifying the right quality of light. You might start to discover that, the time of day is less critical when we're identifying these qualities of light. The reason is, and we're going to get to your ones that are midday. Now, this time of year, here in Colorado, I have observed over the last 2 years since being here that the shadows are not as dramatically different from each other from midday to golden hour in December here than they are elsewhere. They're not, the difference between those long shadows in golden hour and the shadows that you get during midday in December up here, the shadows in midday are still long. They're not as short as they are, for instance, if it's summertime. So if we have this class in the spring, the shadows would look differently because in the springtime and getting to summer, the sun is going to be sort of higher up in the sky than it would be in winter, where the sun, as it's moving across the horizon, from our perspective anyway, it's not moving, we're moving, but as it goes across the sky, is in a lower trajectory during the winter, which is the shadows are longer. So you can capture some of the qualities of golden hour later in the day during this time of year than you would in the summertime, where it's going to go from golden hour to blue to midday quickly. It's going to go, the shadows are low, whoop, all of a sudden it feels like the sun is way up here. So you're going to see that kind of happen. And so it's less about the exact time on a watch and more about the quality of light. And I can see from these that you are identifying the quality of light quite well here. Now with blue hour, you're not going to have any directional light at all. What you're going to have is just diffused light everywhere. And in that case, what you end up looking at is shape and sort of texture and color. And it's obvious that this kind of light, golden hour light, is something that you're interested in. It almost seems like effortless, these photographs. These seem like you're sort of trying to figure out what to do with this light just now. And each of us are going to discover the quality of light that lends to our visual voice. And this quality of light seems to be less, your sort of less connected to your visual voice than the others, because the others rely heavily on the repetition of the lights and the darks and the way that the shadows are working. You have none of that in these, and so they rely more on geometric composition and texture. And so I think these are while fine, you're capturing the kinds of things that we're looking for, are a bit less dynamic than the ones that you chose earlier. Your exposures seem to be pretty good. This one got a little bit dark, but your exposures in blue hour, which is a challenge, seem to be much better. I also appreciate that you're working with, not just one kind of approach. You're close here, you're far away here, you're kind of trying to do something different here with the texture and things like that. So I can see you're exploring. All of that's extremely healthy. It just seems like this one is less of a naturally appealing light for you there. Now that kind of changes a little bit when we introduce your mixed lighting, because your mixed lighting is fantastic. Your shooting partner, Sarah Steele, created what I had thought of as one of the best ones in terms of the lighting, but yours are right up there with them, because something like this is exactly the kind of challenge that you'll have, right? City Hall wants you to do some shots for them, and maybe it's for a Christmas card, or maybe it's for some sort of civic campaign, and they're like, and we got this great tree out there, can you help us with it? And so this kind of thing shot you at this time of day is perfect, right? Because you're getting the lighting on the building, you're getting illuminated sky, you're getting the intensity of the Christmas lights kind of popping through there as well. The layman might just show up at night, right, and take a picture of it, or might show up in the middle of the day to try to take a picture so that he could get the building in the background. You know better. You now know that you can work under this mixed lighting situation. Wait till blue hour, wait till the sun goes down, but not so long that it's totally dark out, and then you're going to get the right photo. This is the experience that a photographer brings to these things. This is why, you still need us. The world still needs us. Photographers who understand the nature of photography, so that we're able to capture things that otherwise would have to be done in Photoshop, right? Oh, let's brighten it up over here and tweak it over there. None of that has to happen if you capture the image in the right way. Now, some of these get a little bit blurry. I think you could have standed to have them on, on a tripod, and that would have been better. This one is by far the best of the series, but you've got the time of day just right, and quite frankly, very consistent. Some of your other peers, they got a couple of shots, but yours seem to be almost all the way through the right time of day and the right exposure and all of that. It just seems like, if you had a tripod, you would have had a better time with it. Let's take a look now at your midday light. So here again, you've got the sun up high. This is great. You've got textures, you've got movement. Just excellent work here in terms of capturing this quality of light. I can tell now what you're drawn to. You're drawn to these lights and shadows and directional light and all of that. Hopefully you're discovering this as well. Part of these experiments are to help you discover your own visual voice. As contained as they are, as specific as they are, use one light, use a card, use this subject matter. As specific as they are, they're still meant to help you to discover your visual voice. And this is just a lovely image. You've got texture, you've got depth because you can see through the twigs. You're using the entire picture plane, kind of framing things out. It's just a really smart photo. And taken during midday, you've got the shadows, you've got the brights, the exposure is just right. You just nailed it on this one, Lindsay. So I would just, encourage you to continue looking at the kinds of stuff that inspires you and how you might be able to take the light, that the information about light you have now into some of your other areas, which I believe, you talked about that in your takeaway here. So if we move to your takeaway, the images are evidence of your learning. That's why I had you to put these images in there, because as an archive, the writing is important so that you are articulating what it is that you've learned. The images then are like evidence of it. It's like, okay, I learned this, and here's me showing you that I learned it. And so you were talking a lot about how you understand that you knew that photography had technical components, which it does, and that you slowly started to discover that it's a lot more than that, and that you had these surprises, that photography is really more about light and how to capture it. And it is. The camera is to photography like a pencil is to writing. Right? The pencil is just the instrument to get those ideas down. The camera is just the instrument to record what you're seeing, and that is light. So if you know that, and it's evidence from your exploration of photography and your takeaway, and I really do hope that you do find ways of incorporating this new information, these experiences that you've had with photography, into your other areas of study, because they can only serve to enrich you in that way. And also that you continue with your photography. Our photography is like our handwriting. It's like our speech. Photography is different than other mediums in that it is vernacular. Everybody uses it. We communicate with it on a daily basis. And so the more we use it, the more fluid it will become. You don't have to be a photographer to be really interested in photography, because photography is a way of seeing, and it's a way of showing others how you see. So thank you so much for being in the class. I'm glad that you chose to take this as one of your exploration classes. I would certainly encourage you to continue with your study of photography, and perhaps even continue with, maybe exploring video or some other components of photography, like printing, exhibition quality prints, or editing in Photoshop, and finding out how you can take the captures that you make through your camera into the real world. So with that, have an excellent break, get some much needed time off, and we will see you in 21. All right, bye-bye now.